reporter 不要用练吧，我现在我改那个了。
杨子。哦 ，OK。
Hello everyone, here we present here the global protests of the citizens of the new federal state of China. And today we have 小王子 here with us, which is Alexa. And we want to give thanks to our technical support 竹子。没有，我说已经推出去了吗
？Yeah.
因为现在我是没有，我刚刚说 give thanks to you， 对吧？然后 ，OK, thank you. I can't hear. 我现在听不见他们讲话哎。你声音可以放出来吗
OK.
So next, our host Alexa will present to you more details about the situation over there.
Hello, this is Alex, and right now you're looking at the footage, which is from Australia, and our protesters, which is represent the new federal state of the China, is protesting right now at this moment. We can see from the video live right now. 他们那个声音断断续续的，我听不清楚他们在说什么。
We're not sure if the voice you guys hear are good enough, but it's a bit clashy over here, so it might be a little. People there are shouting CCP virus and stuff like that against in front of the Chinese consulate, and they want to show their support to the new federal state of China.
Exactly, and they are holding the banners and also the flag of the new federal state of the China. And the sound is a little bit paused right now.
People from all over the world, including New Zealand and Japan and even Korea, have woken up early to show their support. They arrived early in the morning at the Chinese consulate.
Action, action, action！ 所以呢，从我们所有全球的战友为新中国联邦的这个战友是点燃了第一桶。我想先会不断有这样的形式出现，同时呢会上各个国家的各大报纸，希望就是我们在新闻媒体呢，在各个国家的新闻媒体，不管是任何语种，把我们中国联邦的旗帜呢飘出去。非常感谢我们现场那么辛苦的战友们啊！梅梅，你也跟大家说两句。
Here we have Sarah. She said the most important part of wiping out the CCP is taking action, and what we have to do today is to stand out and actually show our support and present our feelings against the CCP virus and the Chinese Communist Party.
全世界人诛之。我相信现在在国内连国歌都不敢唱，因为国歌，中共国的国歌是起来不愿做奴隶的人们。现在就是像蓬佩奥先生说的，我们中国人民应该站起来，应该在我们的身上，我们集聚力量，我们一起来推翻这个邪恶的共产主义，这个邪恶的政党。而且我希望就是国内的战友同胞们，每次听国歌的时候，不管是学生升旗还是怎么样，一定要仔细听，因为他跟你说的是起来不愿意做奴隶的人们。
谢谢梅梅。 好，我们看
There
看
people have
这
sang
是日本的什么样的
the
现象。
national anthem of the new federal state of China
对，
and
日
wave
本
their
上台
flags.
之前跟战友们讲一下，就是日本团队，我们战友这边有超过100多个人，但是呢，因为今天临时是有一些游行的规则，我们必须要遵守，就是只有5个人可以同时去喊口号或者是同时游行。但是我们日本的团队是非常大的，我希望我们有这个机会会看到这个整个团队在一起的画面。但是如果没有呢，就是跟大家先提前讲一下，我们现在是5个人会喊一次口号。
Sorry about that. The sound is a little paused right
看到
now.
马拉多纳摘进来了日本的，
小国切到日本的，
日本的马拉多纳加进来了，然后看他打回字体。
马拉多纳战友，你那边可以开一下画面吗？
并且我再重新进啊。
好的，好的。
好。
三瑞姐，您看休斯顿的领事馆刚刚关掉，我们有游行，我们今天又有游行，您说中共他怕不怕？
This is the protest forecast in the Houston consulate today.
有这一发不可收拾，我相信会越来越多人加入。很多战友说：“哎，我们现在人不怎么多，100多号人，那很快大家所有海外的那么多。”
He says more and more people are following up and coming to voluntarily protest in front of the Chinese consulate.
把那个镜头开出来了，的确，在日本他是不能够聚在一起，只能5个人的分开。警察好像警察好多啊。
The police of the people in Japan don't allow them to be crowded together. They only allow groups of 5, and which may seem to be a bit separate and uncrowded. But in fact, there's a lot of people there.
胡同里边全都是防暴车，停了防暴车。
你们又不会有什么暴力行动的？你们
感觉很奇怪。然后开始昨天来的时候，我们踩点的时候，这个边上没有这个铁栏。然后今天他把这种巨鹿马这种东西全都给放好了，然后防止那个人冲人。说我们都是这种只喊口号和平抗议的人，为啥他放这种栏杆呢
？The people, the police
接到信息以后，跟那当地的警察肯定要求了什么东西，不然的话呢，那么多警察就对你们就那么点人，他们这么多警察。不过挺好。
The police of Japan have put some barriers to block people from going inside.
100号人就可以把他们惊动这么多的警察队伍，把他们吓成这样子，所以说明影响力大，加油了！我下一次的话，因为现在你看看你们有没有那个新闻记者在现场呀？那个日本这边，
刚才好像来了几个，然后来警，然后他们拍了几张照片就走了。
对，警察特别多，在日本是
真的是太。
这个警察多未尝不是一个好事，因为你想这么100多个人对着100多个警察，这些警察回家跟家人讲今天发生了什么，这样1传10，10传100，就有更多人知道我们今天发生了什么，更多人知道新中国联邦是什么，所以对于我们来说是一个很好的推广。
This action of people around the world is a great promotion for the new federal state of China.
那么多警察来，他们肯定有100多号人也回去说嘛。是，下次的时候我们再多的200、300人，他们200、300人警察出来嘛，挺好，挺好。
是的，其实三少姐，我觉得更多人出来，更多地方出来，会鼓舞更多还不敢站出来的战友。所以我觉得这个真的是燎原之势，我相信之后会看到非常非常多的人。我相信我们
第2批战友过来了。
哎，好的。
有第2批吗？好。日本，我看到新西兰在飘国旗，那个新西兰国旗跟咱们新中国联邦的国旗颜色有点相似啊。
对的，都是蓝颜色的。对的，我们新西兰国旗也是蓝的，然后那个新中国联邦也是蓝的，都很像。
韩国那边关掉了那个洋葱头是吧？
Now you're look at the footage from New Zealand, and this is Japan. We just switched to Japan.
哦，他好像没听到。
我能听见。
哦，好。
我看到战友赶到了马路对面。
我们现在是第二批战友到了吗？旁边过去的车。
对，第二批战友，然后丰富项了。
The second wave of our comrades are arriving.
Again, this is the footage of the Japan protesting in Japan.
哎，你们现在就是日本的我们的就是喜马拉雅的负责人是谁呀？现在你们这个游行的负责人？
是魔女姐姐。
他能找到他吗？
魔女姐姐好像跟警察一直在交涉吧？
他在跟你。
对，一直在跟进，在这边。魔女姐姐。
嗨。
大纪元的那个。
These are the reporters from Epoch Times.
那个大纪元的那个对采访的人来再给我们。
挺好。
多纳，
Many of the mainstream media are reporting this action taken by the citizens of the new federal state of China.
我现在就是语音感应。
好的。
We just received news that one of our hosts, 华府野兽, will join us in 10 minutes.
调成横屏吗？好的。听不到声音。可能是因为你戴耳机的原因。
稍等。
我听到了。
这回能听见吗？
可以了。
好像又没有了，是吧？
又没有声音了，多纳。
Sounds great.
多纳，你可能站到采访者那边会好一些，你站到那个媒体那边，这样的话，看一下魔女的正面。
这个应该是魔女是吧？戴帽子这位。
能听见吗？
用文化大革命清除残留的文化精英，六四屠杀，杀死无数年轻人，破法轮功，统计人有信仰。爱党教育。
从头，你那边声音先停一下，从头。
儿童专题 ，CCP 所到之处尽是仇恨、杀戮和谎言，同样对香港也不利。
People there are expressing the anger of the Falun Gong and the June 4th event.
我们试一下声音。
警察把我叫回来了。
哦，好的。
这个路非常窄，就是如果我们堵在路上的话，可能全都过不去。
Yeah, they show their anger. Yeah, go ahead. They show their anger against the Chinese Communist Party and deeply think that this regime should be taken off of the history of the world.
多纳，你把麦靠近一点。
What do you think, Alexis?
Exactly. The people right now, including the Chinese people, not just the people in Western world, and actually in China, mainland China, and in other regions like Hong Kong, Taiwan, everyone is actually very angry right now because what the CCP has done to the world, including persecute the Falun Gong, the Hong Kong people, the Tibet, the Xinjiang people, everywhere. So right now, even in China, everybody is very angry about CCP. And I deeply believe that people today, like all over the world, they are get on the street and trying to showing how they wanted to, the CCP should be taken down. And, they wanted to support the new China, which is the federal state of new China. People are expressing,
好的，现在声音效果很好。
their will
那个屏幕
at this
变成
moment.
竖屏，可以再变成横屏一下。
Yes, in fact, yesterday in Weibo, there was a post posted by news media that included pictures of the flag of the new federal state of China, and netizens questioned which flag of which country it was, and other people's response that it was the flag of the new federal state of China. It was a great chance for us and the world to know the great actions of Mr. Miles Guo and of our comrades.
Exactly. It's actually a very big thing at this moment, especially, China is probably the most, it's the hottest topic, the relationship between the CCP and the world. So right now it's very critical for the new China, which is, Mr. Guo and Mr. Bannon, this is very great opportunity for them and for everybody who are following them to actually spread what they think is right at this moment to take down the CCP.
战友朋友们，现在看到，你看我们爆料革命，我们战友，我们现在所有人做的事都是 action action action， 而不是说我们只是去口号喊几十年。我们现在做的是真真正正的行动，我们的目的就是要推翻这个政党。我们今天中国联邦要带给中国人，带给现在外战友和墙内的同胞们，我们要带去的是民主、正义、安全，我们带去的是真相，我们带给全世界的是我们新中国人的形象。
传播出去，让世界所有的人都知道中共所做的恶行，让所有人都早日觉醒。
那在日本像这样一个活动出来这么多人，我感觉大家年龄整个来说很多是年轻的啊。
In fact, Chinese people are not of those of years ago. They don't. It is not time for us to keep on holding up to suppression, but it's a time for us to standing out and standing up against suppression and malicious treatment. We are against the Chinese Communist Party. In fact, people in the United States are promoting Black Lives Matter, but this action we are doing is promoting all lives matter.
And it's peaceful protest, for sure. It's very peaceful.
Yes, there's no violence, any violent action in the live in the place. The only thing people are doing are shouting slogans and expressing themselves.
事实报道出来的话，不传播出去的话，那接下来将有很多人被迫害、被死亡，包括法轮功学员。现在已经好。
It is a time for us to share this message and spread this message. Let people around the world know what is really happening in China. The Chinese Communist Party hides everything. And they never try to solve the problem. They only try to kill the people who propose the problem.
很残忍的事实，我现在都难以启齿，说出来非常伤心。有小女孩，年轻的小女孩被几十个人轮奸，这些警察有很多都是被中共派过去香港的黑警，他们做，我们必须得宣传出来，让所有人知道。
谢谢，
谢谢，谢谢。谢谢你，我们会一直支持大纪元，关注大纪元。好呀，好呀。
不是大纪元真本身，你要在网上随便一检索都检索到。
好的，好的。
阿里莫多信，
阿里莫多信，哎，张美，我记住点啊，张美。
真实的。
没关系，我记住了。
马拉多纳结束后，请采访一下我们魔女姐姐。
好的，魔女姐。那个，我现在想采访你一下，你今天说一下。那个Sarah姐正好在线。
好，Sarah姐你好。
嗨，你好，哇！哎，你的衣服是有没有标记的？这个颜色跟国旗一模一样的。
一直在采访我，那个大纪元的创始者，我刚才吓了一跳，我一看到他我就想帮帮他，因为我在大纪元上得到太多的鼓舞，太多的那个感动，然后我们也知道了太多的真相。所以呢，刚才他们采访我的时候，我一直都很感动，就是一直都是哽咽的在说话。我觉得我今天很丢人啊，我一直都在哽咽。我刚才我去念那个抗议书的时候，我刚一开始我就哽咽住了，因为我想起来太多那个，就是因为中共失去的生命的那些英灵啊，我觉得他们都在天上看着我啊。我觉得我今天呐喊，我是他们给我的力量啊，我本人没有这么多的力量，我觉得我就是一个太普通的一个普通人，而且我觉得我也是一个很没有勇气的人啊。我觉得我真的不是一个什么 就是好像超出常人的一个人。所以我觉得我的力量是他们给我的，而且是我看到我的父母，他们一辈子他们没有站起来，尤其是我的父母2个人，他们在文化大革命受了整。我的母亲差点自杀，她到最后她还是信中国共产党。
These are people who have faced the suppression during the Cultural Revolution in China during the 1940s.
我当时我的内心其实已经坍塌了。我觉得，我当时我就觉得我是一个孤儿。20年前我开始我就是个孤儿了，因为我真的不相信我的父母，他们能懂我的。
Today is a day of excitement and gratefulness. It is a day that we can finally express ourselves and the people can let the world know the voice of the real Chinese people. We want to express that the Chinese Communist Party does not represent the Chinese people. They are a total different, non-humane organization.
然后我是有很多人在打击我，现在啊，不管是坏人还是什么，还是我也不知道他们是什么样的一个心情。打击我的时候，我的这些战友们，他们对我做了所有的事情在后面，因为什么？他们怕我那个撤退，他们怕我说我不干了，因为我是一个很那个什么的人，所以他们就怕我说这句话，说我不干了，所以他们替我做好所有的事情，然后每天那个我那个痛苦啊，我有时候坚持不住的，他们会一直陪伴我到深夜，就是我要说我睡觉的时候，所以我特别的感谢他们，就像是在这个摄影的这个马拉多纳，他也是其中的一个啊，我真的特别特别的感谢他。我在这个大家庭中啊，我碰过很多次。
Today we have our host 华府野兽 join us. Please say hi to everyone.
太多的爱了，大家姐。
Hello everyone.
你做到了，你太棒了，就是这样。我们遇到磨难的时候就做事 ，yes， 太棒了，为你骄傲。
棒，非常棒。
谢谢了，辛苦啊。
Sarah 姐真的是每一个团队背后都有非常多的故事，大家从准备啊、统计人数啊，加上像韩国农场这边它有大屏幕啊，这些都是要提前很久定的。我看到了我们的团队，我们的战友真的是行动力非常非常的棒。
对呀，他们韩国好像换了衣服吗？
是哎，刚才是白色的短裤是吧？
This action today is the real effective one. Other group and organizations have not ever taken this action to show the real face of China and the Chinese Communist Party.
跟魔女在一起的那位女士也在接受采访。
是的。
现在看来来自下雨啊，下雨。
And right now it's the I believe it's Australia, and right now we come back to the Japan again.
就通过这一件事儿，就看到中国共产党多么可恶。现在我们就包括我以前跟家里来通知说告诉他们一些事实的时候，然后我给我妈妈打电话，我就怕用微信联系会的什么有监督，然后我就用网络电话打完电话之后，随后我妈妈的电话里边就来了一条信息，就说刚才这个电话是由国外来那个打进来的，如果涉及到违法什么一些内容的话，请打什么什么电话举报。这明显是中共监听，这是一个很有力的证据。我们每一个人都在被监视着，每一天。
This lady just shared a story of her and her mother. That when they had a phone call, the Chinese Communist Party, they have online supervision apps that supervises anyone's contact with their family and their speeches and talks.
Yeah, after the phone call, her mother actually received a text message saying there is anything related to something against Chinese party, then she need to report it. So which means the censorship in China is very severe at this moment.
看情况啊。看警察对。
看看就带着进了。好，我们安红姐在这里，我听得到吗？
安红辛苦了，你今天要一整天在门口啊。
大家好，我们下午那场是2点到4点，在马丁白。
This is a whistleblower movement supporter and Hong.
前也在那统一大厂工作，那个地方呢，但是因为这个地方是不允许用扬声器的，然后也不允许放歌，不允许大，但是马丁广场下午是可以放的。我们和联邦的组织可以用这个扬声器。那么期待呢，下午呢，大家依旧这个精神，这个不斗志昂扬的在那个地方呢。那先在这里呢，大家已经看到了这的形状，希望也给这个墙内中共理性化的这些人一个机会，他们弃暗快这个淘汰。好，谢谢大家。
是的，是的。
谢谢安红。
弃暗投明。
弃暗投明。
新中国联邦给你机会。
这口号好，让他们弃暗投明。
好，谢谢。这是我们的口号，我们的口号就是弃暗投明。
好，弃暗投明。
People now are not fearing the darkness of Chinese Communist Party. As you can see in the good, a lot of the weather is not that good, or at least it's raining over there. But without that fear, people are still waving the flags and standing out at the streets to show the real face of Chinese people.
And is also sending a very strong message.
然后我们主要目前是分2批喊口号，然后呢，在这边呢，现在是这一批在喊，啊，我们可以互相轮休。
Yeah, they're sending a very strong message to people within China to choose the right thing to do, like end the CCP.
就是因为每个人时间段不一样嘛。然后下午的那一波呢，可能人会更多。然后下午呢，就像安红姐说的，我们可以用扬声器嘛，所以效果会更好一点。现在我们只能辛苦战友们在这边，就是声音。
Hey everyone, Mandarin just joined us. Please say hi to our comrades.
Hi.
China. Fight for freedom. Five demands. No one less. 中国共产党。
As you can see on the poster, it says CCP lied and people died all over the world. Not just tens or hundreds, but thousands, but millions.
替天行道。
小李去哪儿？啊，他离站有。
因为新西兰的那个这边的局势特别奇怪，他们买的房子特别奇怪。
直播信号。是啊。
아무는 준비해서 지금
leaders of the Chinese Communist Party are total rubbish. They have, in no time, they will be taken out of the historical stage and wiped out of the world.
共产党祸害了全球，跟着共产党走进火葬场，消灭共产党，正义的需要，消灭共产党，替天行道，新中国联邦，世界新希望，光复香港，时代革命，中共灭亡。
我们这儿有一个韩国采访。
Our host Cadenza just joined us. Please say hi to everyone.
Hello, I'm Cadenza.
他是说他第一次参加我们的活动，然后他认为中国共产党一定要打倒中国共产党，人民才能得到新的生活。然后他不光我们新西兰，而且加拿大、韩国还有澳大利亚，全世界的人民都应该起来反抗中国共产党的这个统治。他说现在在韩国有很多反对共产党的组织也在，他希望大家都联合起来，他希望这样的活动举办。他刚才跟我说，他是虽然第一次参加，但是为了民主主义、民主共和主义，一定要全世界的人民联合起来才有力量。谢谢大家。加油加油，我们都一起加油。
지지하는 국민들에 대한 당연한 이유가 있다. 중국 통합 봉합하는 반대하는 것은 국민들만 아니라 여기에 관심 가지고 있는 사람들과 다 관련이니까. 왜냐? 중국은 이 약한 보안발을 이용하여 모든 사람들의 손에 장악하려고 시도하기 때문입니다. 중국은 이 국가 보호법을 통해 세계 모든 곳에서 어떤 한 사람든지 마음대로 체포하고 중국 보호로 인도할 수 있다. 중국을 소명하는 것은 정의의 수용이다. 오늘 전 세계 민족 국가를 모두가 정의 쪽으로 같이 줄을 섰다. 중국은 반드시 연력 일당대에서 사라져야 한다. 중국 군부시키고 광부 hun국 시대평ning 인류에게 자유로운 세계를 다시 찾아오다.
For those of our listeners who don't understand how evil the CCP is, here is a list of deadly sins committed by the CCP. So this is the CCP virus edition. The CCP claimed that the US service members deploy this virus in China, and the CCP deliberately destroyed evidence of the virus outbreak and refused investigation from international community. CCP also suppressed Dr. Li Wenliang and other whistleblowers while accusing them of rumor mongering. The CCP also put Wuhan on lockdown without preliminary warning and allowed people flying out internationally from Wuhan. And the CCP hoarded medical gear and PPE while concealing the severity of the virus. And the truth about this virus is that the CCP engineered and unleashed the virus as a biological weapon in Wuhan P4 lab. Lastly, the CCP used propaganda to weaponize racism in an effort to deny responsibility.
"洋葱头可以听到吗？洋葱头，洋葱头。
Hey everyone, our host Seamoon just joined us. Seamoon, please say hi to everyone.
Hello everyone, I don't know exactly what is happening here. I just got online. So, yeah. But today is a great day, I guess.
战友们好，大家看见了吗？现在那个在胡同里边，我们日本这边又来了好几辆跑跑车，就在胡同里。
看到了，马拉多纳战友，你那边屏幕现在是竖屏的。
你说什么？没听清楚，对不起，你再说一下。
我说你那边屏幕现在变成竖屏了。
哦。
OK， 好的，恢复了。
可能是警察。那个我们那个胡同里又来了好几辆跑跑车，你看看，警车到处都是，现在到处都是警车，现在已经比我们人数都多了，现在。
哦，真的是这样，现场情况。
我们来了120几个人哦。
是啊，120几个人只能分批进入这个游行的地点，是吧？
是这样，我跟你讲一下，我们120个人，开始说好警察是30个人一组让我们来，结果到了现场就变卦了，然后从30个一组就切成5个人一组，就把我们切成一小波一小波的来。然后大家看，我们只能站在马路两侧，不允许站在那个，也不允许站在大使馆门口，就只允许前面有一小块地方，然后可以站，就是那个地方。然后呢，现在就是那儿已经没有人了，然后要等下一波，哎，下一波战友已经过来了。
Yeah, the video that you're looking at right now is showing the protests in Japan, and there are many policemen in the scene together with the protesters of the federal state of New China.
네, 다음으로 영상을 下面我们来看一段视频。
韩梅梅，你那儿没有画面。
哎，稍微等一下。
南极宝宝，我看你那边现场是不是有很多媒体都在采访？
哦，我们现场有我们自己的，然后目前在采访的就是那个长岛伟哥他们，跟我们老班长，然后还有大纪元，然后还有洋人媒体。其实相对来说是我们自己的人比较多，这次。
好的，我看到可以介绍一下采访的一些当地媒体吗？
我们这次当地媒体就中文媒体大纪元来了，然后英文媒体刚看到了一个，我不完全知道他是谁。喂，听到吗？
好的，明白。
但我们今天警察其实很给力，就是他们完全不管我们，这么多人就派了一个人来。
那句话说好像他知道是怎么，
而且警察说，他知道到底今天发生了什么事情。他说我别的我都不担心，我就担心你们被车撞了以后我有麻烦。
是啊，可以看出来，好像我们新西兰当地的警方跟我们新中国联邦这个是比较密切的。
对，相对来说他们比较信任我们。我刚看到日本吧，还是他们好多那个警察了，我们这边没有警察，我们警察也不管我们，他远远的看，他也不理我们。
远远的保护着大家。
对对，他远远的保护着我们，然后主要是他担心我们这边，因为今天我为什么一直拍的都是那种半径景，就是因为中国这个大使馆这个路实在太窄了，这个人行道就你站2个人都已经，我觉得都已经太挤了，就大家站得特别挤，所以我也没有办法拍到全景。
了解了解，可以试一下马路对面的效果。
马路对面这样有点太远了，我可以过去看看。对，我等下过去看看。
好的，好的。
So so this is happening in New Zealand?
Yes. Now this footage is from Japan, and that is from New Zealand.
Australia.
Oh yeah.
And I believe
马拉多
today's
纳，我看到现在
protest is
现场聚集的战友也比较多了，我看对面也有，咱们这边也有。
对对对，是这样的。我们的战友在这边现在已经开始唱国歌了，现在。
好的，我们听一下国歌。
Yeah, the protest today taken place in actually 5 locations, including the New Zealand, Japan, Australia, Korea, and Europe. Just a quick note.
好的，多纳，我们现在没有听到声音。
你稍等啊。
The protest today is actually from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., lasting the whole day in the 5 locations that I just mentioned.
这边的情况的话，援又过来支援，还有。
And right now we're still showing the Japan footage.
我就来让警，我们这儿又有警车增援了，又来增。对，然后到大使馆里，好多警车。
The police is coming to help. More and more police is coming to help in Japan, I guess.
又来了辆。
哇，真的看到好多警车啊！
对，是的，好，对。
Okay, we've seen a lot of police cars coming around to protect our protesters. So while we're waiting for the protest to take place, let's quickly introduce to you about the purpose of the
现在警察
whistleblower
的人数已经
movement.
超过我们那个抗议的人了，绝对超过了。
The mission of the whistleblower movement is to take down the CCP. The Chinese Communist Party is a terrorist organization founded by the Communist International, which has subverted the legitimate Chinese government in the past. Totalitarian rule in China has caused horrific atrocities against humanity, total disregard for human rights, and the destruction of humanity. The CCP violate the rule of
这些车辆已
law,
经把路给堵满了。
dishonor lawful agreements, and cause great bloodshed in Hong
是
Kong.
的，我们的现在警察的人数远远超过了我们游行的人数，可见他们对我们有多么的害怕。我们一直需要警察的支援。
And in this year, the CCP unleashed a biological attack
我去，
on
警察把
humanity
盾牌都拿出来了。
with the CCP virus, which poses a serious threat to the health
我的天
and
哪！
survival of all human beings.
盾牌，
The crimes
他们应该把这些盾牌对着 CCP 大使馆里的那些人，他们是在
are
不
too
停。
heinous to be tolerated.
对，我们战友都一直在和平的游行、和平的示威，表达我们合理的
So
诉求。
from the video, we
真
can see
正
that
在危害
the
着这个世界
protestors are
安
in
全
a
的是
peace
CCP 大使馆里的那些
protesting,
人，
but
他们在
the
向世界
CCP
释
is
放着病
calling
毒。
more troops, more policemen to come here, and which is the sign of them being afraid of the protesters. But they are being nothing but peaceful,
那个公交
yet
车
the
昨天晚上根本
CCP
就
is
没有，
afraid
然
already.
后今天早上来，他那个是个洒水车，然后他把那个管拉起来之后，一滴水都不洒，就在地上中间放着。
他是想吓唬我们战友吗？没有用的。
对的，对，那时候没有车嘛，那个洒水车。对对对，洒水，是吧？昨天晚上没来。
我以为他是装小的。
We can see that the amount of police are passing the supporters. That from this we can see that the CCP is really scared of this event taking place.
哎，那我这看是洒水。
These protesters truly show their determination to take down the CCP, because the elimination of the CCP is essential in breaking the shackles of slavery imposed on the Chinese people, and also in bringing about peace to the world.
报社记者来。现在有日本的媒体在吗？
我们现在日本团队听得到吗？
听得到，听得到。
哦，好的，所以我们现在看到确实是像，就是这个马路非常窄啊，看占了我们站的警察。
对，现在我们那个人数远远是就是没有警察的人，然后我们被清到那个，因为反正也是真的是警察也是为了路人着想，就是要把路让开。然后现在日本好像有两个小的，不知道是在拍照，这儿有一个。
你说是谁在拍照？是媒体吗？
对，应该是媒体，但是他们不认识，不知道是。
所以这边站的是我们全部的战友是吧？
全。
可以在哪里喊呢？
喊口号在马路对面一个角落里，然后正对着大使馆，只能站5个人。
哦，所以在那个您的视频的右方是我们的使馆。
对，我给你拍一下啊！现在我都不能让你看，我脚下有这个栏杆，我是不能跨出这个栏杆的。然后呢，我现在是不能没有办法。
We can see that in front of people there are these barriers, and they don't allow people to cross the barrier to supposedly protect people passing by.
所以战友们，我们看到这个日本战区，这个游行的规则是比较严格的。
It is really strict in Japan.
但是说实话，我真的是看那个游行从来没来过，从来没有过。
The person in Japan said that, honestly saying that any protest before hasn't been that strict. It must be the back or black hand of CCP suppressing people to express their freedom and real thoughts.
导播，我们可以把画面切到韩国吗？
好的，好的，我已经切到韩国了。
This is the footage of Korea.
好，谢谢。战友们，我们现在看到澳大利亚现在是休息时间，他们之后还会再回来游行。然后我们现在把画面切到韩国，我们看一下韩国这边的状况子。
The previous footage was from Australia. They're in the time of rest, and they'll be coming
主
back.
持人，韩国我们现场记者洋葱头，他的这个画面有一些问题。
大家看了几个豆。
It's a bit glitchy.
多纳这边
The footage of Korea, so we have now changed the footage again.
是新西兰，我看到新西兰现在的画面是广角的画面是吧？现在看起来非常。
是的，是的，我现在切到新西兰。南极宝宝在吗？
在的，在的。
Yeah, this is a footage of the New Zealand.
听得到，南极宝宝。
我现在在马路对面。
对对对，所以把画面切过来。你可以给大家讲一下现在是什么情况吗？现场。
现在就是我们有一个战友在喊口号，然后我们处于一个一字排开，大家都是一字站开，因为实在是站不了2排人，太挤了。我们站了好远。
I said it's very crowded in the place of protests in New Zealand.
所以南极宝
A lot of people are there.
使馆是吧？
宝宝宝宝。
哦，滑麦了，滑麦了，我调一下，调成感应的，稍等。
哎。
好了好了，能听到我吗？
哎，好的好的，非常棒。所以，宝宝，我们现在，我们这一面墙后所有的，这一面墙都是使馆是吧？
对，这个后面就是他们的那个总部了，在这栋楼后面就是他的那个签证中心。
孩子。
然后这边有一个牌子，稍等啊，估计有点困难。
我们现在看到战友们几乎把使馆是包围了。
对，几乎是把它包围了。它是那个。
They're surrounding the whole consulate in New Zealand. There's a lot of people there,
这个楼就是我也不知道为什么，而且里面超多监控，你看
8条线，
超级多监控，能看到那个国徽边上。
I'm pretty sure the people inside the consulate are terrified to come out.
而且又很脏。他们整个的那个状态就是，你一看这个就整个跟新西兰的这些 building 就不完全一致，你就知道那个是那个是共产党的那个 building 了。
是的，是的，太壮观了。你现在是？
你看我们隔壁的反应很快。您说？
哦，宝宝，你现在是回到马路对面吗？我们可以采访。
For those who are watching our broadcast, you can leave your comments and interact and share your opinions about your attitude towards this protest and everything.
回去是吧？好，这边是澳洲这边游行了，然后呢，我们这边澳洲呢第一场要结束了，然后我们接下来2个小时之后才会开始。
This is probably the first time for most of our protesters to actually use their First Amendment to actually exercise their freedom of speech.
谢谢文飞，可以告诉直播间的观众，我们下一场是几点开始吗？
In China, you're not allowed to express your opinions. You're not allowed
希望大家这个一起关注我们，一起喊这个口号。对，下午12点到2点了。
好的，好的，谢谢文飞战友为我们带来的现场直播。
We can see that the footage in Australia is that the first round of protests in Australia is about to be finished, and later on, starting from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock local time, people will be coming back and starting the second round of protests.
你把屏幕调成横屏。宝宝，你现在是竖屏。
我这个手机好像不太能调。
好的，那就
研究一下。
那就
这样吧。
就这样。
您说。
没关系的，没关系的。哎，宝宝。
As everyone can see, the blue flag is the new flag of the new federal state of China. The new federal state of China is established on June 4th, 2020, and it's supposed to draw up a constitution in reference to the democratic and legal system of the West and any relevant international laws. And it's created to be under the supervision of international institutions and the Himalaya Supervisory Organization. The government body will be established of one person, one vote, and the separation of executive branch, legislative bodies, and judicial systems.
你好，你好，你好，韩梅梅是吗？对，哦，你好，
您好，非常非常开心跟您连线成功。请您讲一讲今天的感受好吗？
我们听
讲一下你今天的感受。
我今天非常兴奋，非常激动。我们
She's saying that she's very excited, and they were being shouting out the slogans.
我听我的嗓子都快喊哑了。
And you can hear that my throat is a little bit sour, but I'm very excited. So, have you driven here or you took a flight?
战友的车过来的。
She's saying that she's coming here with another supporters, and it only took like half an hour to come here, which is awesome. And we can see a lot of people there. And it's reached to our goal, which is 150 people come here, and it's more than that. Before that, we planned that it's going to be 150, but now it's more than that.
150人满了，不能再多了。
And that is because we have like reached to the top number of the supporters. We can't hold even more. So basically, these two women are in a protest in New Zealand.
我们有好几个是一家三口来的，都是带着家庭。
A lot of people are coming with their families, their children, their kids, and the youngest one is about 10 years old. Yeah, that's very moving and touching. There are more and more supporters coming here, which is quite encouraging, and we are so touched and encouraged. And I believe that when the people in mainland China are looking at this, they would be overexcited, and people from all over the world are supporting them. Thank you very much.
宝宝没声音了。
对。我也很感动，主要是就是家长。
Yeah, I'm very touched too.
然后他们工作做得很好。
And the parents are the supporters, and they're doing a great job.
跟随家长。
And they teach their children and follow their thoughts, which is quite awesome. This is the hope. And the next generation is just to pass on the spirit. Thank you. We got another supporter here. He's the spokesperson for the Cantonese and English. What's your name?
TEX.
Sorry, I can't hear his name clearly, but.
你好。
There's some problem with the line, but.
现在有声音吗，宝宝 Max？
妹妹那边的声音我们会听不到，有点卡卡的。
So they're talking about the line issue, and we should get online quick in a short time. Oh, you can hear the kids in the outside shouting the slogan.
妹妹的声音我听不见了。
CCP, this is the sound of the kid.
不行。那我要不要出去一下？因为我。
Okay, now let's welcome Cadenza, one of our reporters, to continue the translation and interpretation for you.
Hello everyone, so I'll be taking over to translate what's going on at the scene.
我们回来了。
好的，回来了，看到了。
Hello。
哎，宝宝，稍微等我一下，我回来采访你，这个采访的录太好。
Okay, then we'll come back to continue to interview them.
梅梅，你那边声音听不到。
They can't hear. Right now we're having technical difficulty with the interview, and we can't really hear two people talking right now, but we can still hear what's going on with the protest.
梅梅，你试一下用按键发言，因为那个它现在是语音感应的机制的话，别的地方开麦会影响到你的收音。
As you can hear, we can all hear all the protesters in the background.
那个宝宝，你先就是你们我们采访的时候，就是对你先把麦关掉，然后听韩妹妹说，然后再开麦。
He's saying that he wants them to turn off the mic during the interview so that people can hear clearly.
谢谢。我们现在那个导播再把画面切回韩国。
They're going to change.
So
while they're changing the students and everything, you can share your opinion. Like Cadenza, could you share some thoughts about children involved in this protest? What do you think? Do you think that the children should go there and everything? What do you think?
I think the children definitely should go there, but under certain measures. It's very dangerous still, especially in the current situation with going on. But children should also have the freedom to protest, freedom to express what they think. Just like so, yes, I think absolutely they should be able to go protest at the scene. But of course, with guardians present.
Yeah, right. Like I said, the youngest kid was like just 10 years old, which is quite encouraging, and that is probably the hope of our nation and our species, I guess.
I think even a 10-year-old can go protest. Why can't we all, go show support for the new federal state of China and show our determination to take down the CCP? Right now, they are playing a video of a Chinese virologist, a video of her being interviewed by Fox News about the CCP virus, the truth of it.
Beast, Washington Beast, are you there?
Yes, I am.
So, care to share your thoughts about children get involved for the protest? Because, well, as far as I know, this is the first time that Chinese people involve their children to the protest, like political activities and everything. So, do you think that it's going to be continue, and more and more children will be there with their parents and to be responsible for the future of our country? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I think it is very encouraging to see so many young children being with their parents, because in China, young children are taught to hate other countries, are taught to hate America, And so they have been brainwashed since they are born. And whether they are in elementary school, middle school, or in college, they're constantly being indoctrinated with communism and socialism ideals. And to be able to, to protest is a very, a huge progress for the Chinese people, because the Chinese people never have the freedom to use their voice to express what they really think. Because the Chinese Communist Party always claim that they represent the 1.4 billion population, but in reality, they always suppress the freedom of speech and free press. They never allow their citizens to use their voice to advocate for things they stand for.
Yeah, I think this is a great lesson for the kids to learn in mainland China. If they're using VPN and every source to watch this live, then I would encourage them to hold this spirit in their mind. And when the time is ready, they could join this too. But for now, they must keep their safety first. But in the future.
Exactly. But still, I think it's very fortunate, these children have very brave and open-minded parents. I don't think these children are being exploited. I think they're very lucky. They're being instilled with ideals like freedom, democracy, and rule of law at a very young age, which is impossible.
Sorry to interrupt. This is the footage in Korea. And so, Lane, could you report the things for us, please?
Sorry for the glitchness of the footage right now. There's a saying in China saying 枪打出头鸟, which meaning that the bullet shuts the bird that first heads out. So no one can stand out and speak for themselves or their families or anyone around them. So the only thing, so the thing today that should be appreciated is that people around the world are daring to stand out and share their thoughts.
This is the organizer of today's protest in Korea. And it's raining heavily, but protesters are still in the street and very, very involved. Yang Zi, I'll leave the rest to you. Thank you.
梅梅，你用按键发言，梅梅，你现在调按键发言。梅梅，可以听到吗？你用按键发言。请我们恩典站的战友稍等一下，现在直播间他的声音，我们。
They're dealing with internet connection problems, and we'll be fixing it soon.
So while they're working on the wire and the stuff, let's continue our discussion. So Yang Zi, do you have any thoughts? Like, you're one of the youngest protesters or like supporters here, and you're brave enough to show your face and to deliver the information to the whole world. So could you share some ideas about like younger generation, how they can get involved in this great movement, historical events, and what can they do? No matter they're in mainland China using VPN to watch this, or they're out there in the street. Do you have any suggestions from the younger generation's opinion?
Yes, of course. So as the younger generation, saying the millennials and younger, so my thing is to watch the real news online and actually like going on Twitter and showing my opinion, because personally I'm outside of mainland China, and so I have more freedom to share my speech and opinions. And so for the younger generation, the most important part is political engagement because it is dealing with every part of our life, including economics or even your prices of things you buy in the markets and stuff. So the most important part is when people stand out and share what they really think about, and when they pursue the freedom, that is when the younger generation plans for our future. So for many of you who are watching in our live view, we would like to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you. So next, Alexa, can you share your thoughts on the Houston consulate event?
So yes, this is the people mourning for the death in Hong Kong. Continue, sorry.
看我们的小朋友，跟大家打个招呼，跟大家打个招呼。
男朋友好，小小战友，我们的小小战友你好。
Alex, are you there? You can.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay, you can. The rest is all yours.
Hello.
All right, thank you. Okay, yeah. To answer your question, I was there in yesterday. No, it wasn't really yesterday. It was the
day before yesterday.
The day before yesterday, exactly. I was there around 4:15 around that time, and by that time, all the Chinese consulate, all the stuff is already gone. So the building is empty. There are around like 5 policemen were there and trying to control the crowd because there are lots of media, mainstream media, and also our media, the Federal News State of the China media as well. Also, the Epic Time, the NTD TV is also there. So there are lots of people over there and trying to see what's happened over there. And around 4:40. There are about 5 vehicles arrived at the consulate, and I believe they are from the FBI, something like that, from the department. You know, the U.S. sent our people to get there and trying to clean up, and they found out all the doors in the Chinese embassy over there are closed. Basically, it's locked, so they couldn't get in. And later on, a vehicle showing locks, which is, you know, the lock opening company showed up that day, and then I believe they get in on the back door. Since the policeman already blocked the road, so nobody really came back in happening they're doing. But it's very clear that you know, the Chinese consulate is empty. All the stuff is gone, and for some people who also protest, I believe they are Falun Gong practitioners there, they told us that the previous night, all these people working in the Chinese consulate, they already packed and during the nighttime. So it was a lot of protesters are there, and they're showing, you know, their attitude that they want the CCPs gone because the group, including the whistleblower movements, protesters, and also Falun Gong practitioners, and also people from Vietnam, the Vietnamese, also protest over there, which is very surprising. Yeah, people standing there since early morning that day, and then till 6 p.m. I was there. It's still people standing there. It was raining pretty bad during the day in Houston, but nobody really left. It was really, you know, a historical moment for everybody to participate. Yeah.
I want to add something on top of what Alex said about the Houston consulate, because I was also there. I think it was really inspiring protesting there, because it was actually my first time exercising my First Amendment rights, and seeing all the whistleblower, all the brothers and sisters being there was really encouraging. Also, when we were protesting on the street, not on the street, but on the sidewalk, right across from the main entrance of the consulate, there were lots of cars passing by. A lot of Americans were us by honking at our crowds and giving us thumbs up. Some of them even rolled down their windows to tell us that
really
what we were
summed up.
doing was really awesome.
是要围绕着中共的领事馆吗？还是什么范围？哦，好的，是从中领馆，然后我们游行到美领馆吗？不是，30分钟。看这个。
They're walking on sidewalks and possibly passing the Chinese and U.S. consulates around the place. There are lots of people who come voluntarily to the place and coordinate this event.
我们是在为新中国联邦发声，为正义发声。为善良的中国人发声，让世界
saying that they speak for the new China, speak for Chinese people, and they speak for the protesters, whoever love peace in the world.
They said it is hard for interview. I'm sorry. It is only possible for 1v1 interviews.
好的，你采访的时候就用按键说话，效果非常好。
The footage you're watching is happening right now in Korea. It's really amazing to see, like in Korea, which is one of the country infected by or influenced by the Chinese culture from the history that could have democracy and freedom, and they're allowing people to go on the street to protest and everything. They learned the history and they learned Chinese culture back then, and now they develop into a democratic country. However, their teacher is still struggling with their history and everything. So this is amazing to see that.
有一个，你看一下那个屏幕上有一个自动增益控制，把那个给关掉，自动增益控制给关掉。
So do you guys have any idea, like opinions to share a bit related to this? Like in history, like 1,000 years ago, we taught sort of Korea and Japan, and now these two countries are developing into a democratic country and with freedom and democracy. What do you think is the reason why we grow apart and we grow into different type of countries?
Mandarin, do you want to share some opinion? Mandarin, you're there?
Yeah, before Mandarin came here, like anyone, like Yang, what do you think?
Yeah, sure. So what I think is that people around the world, what countries other than China, like Japan and Korea did, was to learn from other countries and share their new technology. But what China chose to do in the Qing dynasty was to lock down itself and not learn and like refuse Western information and technologies. They didn't get the chance to earn. They did get the chance, but they chose to not have democracy. Brutally treat their citizens and people. Now, so at first in 1989, where people started beginning to pursue freedom, they were suppressed, and the higher level leaders of the Chinese Communist Party chose to have a massacre in the Tiananmen Square. So they were so the people were deeply feared of what's happening and what would happen to them after they would express themselves and pursue the actual freedom. And that caused a delay in the modern world of the technology and information shared because countries around the world are not willing to collaborate with China and the Chinese Communist Party, namely because of their brutal ruling of their people and their breaking and their malicious ruling, and they're trying to break their international laws. So people, not just people, and that's a lower unit, but to the higher unit, countries and even international organizations are not wanting to collaborate with China, but like there are always exceptions, like the WHO, in which the Chinese Communist Party just bribe their officials and leaders. Yes, and that's all I want. That's all I want to say for now.
Alexa, any thoughts? Oh,
Well,
Mandarin's here. Yeah, Alexa,
yeah,
you
Mandarin.
go on. Yeah, you go on. You
Okay.
first.
Okay, for this topic, why the Korean and Japanese, which is back to 500 years ago, they're actually, we are getting, China is major influence of their culture. Basically, those three countries sharing very similar culture background. However, China take a different path, like being mentioned earlier, that after Qing Dynasty, the Qing Dynasty's government chose to close down the country. So, the China is completely changed. The people not really developing the technology. They don't focus on the new things. They don't learn from other country. But Japanese back then was very actively learning from the Western world. So Japan later on become the strongest country later on, especially before the World War I and World War II. Then later on, the World War I and World War II taken place. That's Japan showing how good they had learned from the Western world. So, but China still stayed the old way. We didn't really change, so that was problem one. And later on, when we lost, at the end of the Qing Dynasty, we starting to realize we kind of just didn't really make any changes for hundreds of years, and now everybody can beat us up. Then we start realize we need to change. But we made a wrong decision, which is we bring the Chinese Communist Party in, that was the biggest mistake the Chinese people have ever made, ever, for like a 100 years ago or more than 100 years ago. That was really the biggest mistake. So after that, the Chinese Communist Party, everybody may know a little bit about Chinese Communist Party, how they conquered China. That was a very sad story because, the Taiwan government used to be the Chinese government, the mainland government. However, during the World War II, actually the Chinese army, the democracy one, was fighting the Japan so hard, and over almost 200 generals was killed, which means we lost millions of the soldiers. So after that war, World War II, China fighting Japan, the government and the whole country was weak because all the soldiers were lost. Then that's when the Chinese Communist Party conquered the whole country. So basically, they didn't really do anything to benefit the Chinese people, but stealing the power from the previous government. And after that, all they done was close the door and killed everyone who have a different word, and till now. And Chinese people still suffering. It was the worst decision the Chinese people have ever made to bring the Chinese Communist Party in. So people in South Korea and in Japan, even though they also suffering during the World War II, however, they choose the democracy, they choose the liberal and freedom. So right now, they are free, they have rights, they live like a human being, not like an animal. Their government is serving the people. They're not killing the people. They're not silencing the people. So that's the major difference that I think between these three countries that we just mentioned.
Yeah, Mandarin, are you there? Care to share your thoughts on this?
I think Mandarin is off. He's
Okay.
Is he connected?
Nah, he's not
no,
even in the
he's
room,
off.
so yeah, right. He's offline.
Is there anyone who wants to share their opinions right now? How about Seamoon? You want to share your thoughts?
Well, yeah, like I said, I just wondering why it's so different. So, well, I think one of the most famous excuse that Chinese people constantly saying is that, okay, I don't care about politics. I have nothing to do with it. Yeah. Oh, Mandarin, you're back? Okay, nice. Mandarin, you there?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so care to share some opinions like why China, Japan, and Korea, which originally from the Chinese historical culture and everything, and we grew into different kind of regime and different kind of political system. How does that happen? These two countries are having freedom and everything, and the China is kind of their teacher in the past are still suffering from the totalitarianism and everything. Why it is happening?
Well, to explain it, to explain the whole thing in a simple term, it has a lot to do with World War II. So basically, at the beginning of World War II, Japan started to expand expand their empire, and one of the first thing they did is they invaded the entire Korean peninsula, and they took over the entire. Back then, it is still called the Empire of Korea because back then there was no north and south. So they took over the entire Korea peninsula, and in 1937, Japan started the formal invasion of China mainland through Manchuria. And the reason how the Chinese Communist Party was able to took over, my other colleague Alexa made a pretty good explanation. It's basically when the Kuomintang, which was led by Chiang Kai-shek, founded by Sun Yat-sen, which was referred as the father of China. They were doing most of the fighting with the Japanese, and they lost they lost approximately 2 million to 3 million soldiers.
Yeah, I just mentioned earlier the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So during that time, the Chinese Communist Party was hiding in a really remote part of China, avoiding all of the fighting. And once and after Japan was defeated in after World War II, Japan had to do two things. So one of the things that Japan had to do was Japan have to give up all of the occupied territories when during World War II, how they got it with invasion. So Korea become once again independent. And then the other thing that Japan needed to do is that for a long period of time, Japan was directly under the government of the United States. So it's basically what happened to Germany after World War II. Germany was, governed by governed by different governments of the Soviet Union, Britain, France, and then America. So Japan was only governed by the United States. So that's how Japan made a really big jump in democracy structure, is because they are completely governed by the United States. And basically General Eisenhower, who was actually the governor of Japan by the time, taught Japanese how to do Congress, how to do Senate, how to do election, blah blah blah. So that's how Japan got here today. So back to China, because Kuomintang lost a lot of manpower with the Sino-Japanese War during World War II. After Japan was defeated, the Chinese Communist Party immediately came back and said that, hey, we want to take over China, and we have the support of the people. And the way that CCP got support was they promised free stuff. They go to the poor peasants, and they told the peasant, hey, if you fight with us, after we win, we will take all the lands from your landlord and give the lands to you.
Wait. Wait. This is exactly what the Democrats. They're promising great stuff.
Exactly. So when
sorry to interrupt. Let's wait for it if there's an interview or something happening in the street of Korea, and then we will continue our discussion. I'm sorry. Just wait a sec.
没关系，我可以声音讲大一点声，让我们。
They're doing an interview right now, but still connecting. The man is saying that it was so crowded, the loud out there, so it's really difficult for him to catch the signal and hear the host. But this is still in Korea, and it's raining heavily. But the rain doesn't stop people's fear, and doesn't stop their courage and everything. Okay, so they are not going to do the interview. Okay, Mandarin, you can continue.
Oh, there's no more interview? Okay.
Okay, as if there has been any.
Yeah, so what we were talking was CCP was saying that they represent the will of the people because they went around and promised everybody free stuff. So they actually got a lot of support from the normal people back then, and that's how how at the end of the day they can gather a huge amount of army to start a civil war with the Kuomintang. So after years of fighting the Japanese, the Kuomintang army was basically in fatigue, and their morales were really low. So when they fight, you have fresh recruited soldiers from the peasants and versus soldiers that have been fighting the Japanese from 1937 all the way to 1945. 8 years of fighting. So Kuomintang is tired, but CCP is fresh and ready to go, and that's how CCP basically won the civil war and took control of China, and Kuomintang fled to Taiwan, and that's how we got. And then after that we all know how they go. Mao came into power and established communism, and he worked closely with the Soviet Union in the early stage, especially during the time when the Soviet Union was still governed by Joseph Stalin. The relationship between the Soviet Union and China kind of deteriorated after Joseph Stalin died, but before that, the Soviet Union and China were good buddies. So that's basically the short version of how China came to what it is as today, governed by the Chinese Communist Party, and have no democracy, a complete dictatorship. To keep in mind, to just a side note, Korea didn't actually become a democracy until 1992. Before 1992, Korea was governed by what was a military governing government. So basically, the Korean military, the generals have the most say in Korea. But however, Korea was even when Koreans were governed by was governed by a military dictatorship. There was never like there was never insane censorship as what they were doing in China. Even during the military dictatorship, the Korean people were able to communicate with the outside and get influenced by. Especially the reason why Korea is relatively open has a lot to do with the Korean War, because when the North Koreans invaded the South Koreans, the Americans come to help, and that's how that's how later the South Korean government established a really good relationship with the United States and the rest of the Western world. So that's how Korea, compared to China, is a lot more open, even under a military dictatorship. And then after years and years of Western culture influenced, the Korean people become more and more open-minded, and they started protesting against the military dictatorship. And until 1992, finally, the Korean people had established a functional democracy government and become the public of I think it's called the Public of the Public of South Korea. Is that the whole name? Anyway, well, and then it become the South Korea as we know today. So that is how China, Japan, and Korea are different. It's all because at the end of the day, it's all Japanese fault. If they haven't invaded China, the Kuomintang will still have power and they will kick the communist ass. But because they invaded China and killed so many Kuomintang soldiers, at the end of the day, the CCP won. So yeah.
Yeah. Right. So
It's
his opinion is
Japanese
just his
fault.
own opinion. Yes. Okay, but it doesn't represent what TNT group.
Right. It's just
That was the
personal
joke. That was the
opinion,
joke. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That was the
We have
joke.
to make it clear. This is not really what TNT represents, but we appreciate and respect every single opinion that people are sharing here. So if you guys are care to leave comments while we're broadcasting, we're very welcome for you to do that. And we've seen several of you guys have left the comments here, and it really encouraged us to do even better. So these are the footage in Korea as well. So we're still zooming in Korea, and these are the organizers in Korea.
Yeah, I think they're doing a parade right now. They're crossing.
Yes. So see, this is the evidence of showing Chinese people are a peaceful group, and they can protest in a good manner and with every law that allows them to do. So whoever is saying that Chinese people are not made for democracy and for freedom, that is a pure lie. So I hope that someday we can see that more and more Chinese people are in the street and they're demonstrating and it express their feelings in a peaceful manner, just like what we are doing today all over the world to show a new image of China and Chinese people.
And I think this is very critical because Chinese people being silenced for so long, for almost 70 years, especially people in mainland China. And right now, people all over the world trying to stand up, especially like those Chinese in outside world, outside of China. Right now, they are getting together and form a state of the federal state of the new China. And right now, they are trying to take actions to show the world that Chinese people are not the segment of the Asia, but we are still practicing. We have courage. We we love freedom and want the Chinese people to be free from the CCP. So this is passing a very critical message at this moment, and we pretty sure that when the people in mainland China see this, they will get encouraged and they will also trying to exercise their human rights, which is to expressing freely and then everything else.
Cadenza, what do you think? Do you want to say something, jump in, or the beast in Washington, D.C.?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's not exactly a question. It's just like whatever you want to share here. So how do you feel so far after watching this broadcast for a while? Do you have any thoughts want to share?
I think that just from looking at how many people that went and how many people that are supporting the whistleblower movement really shows how much Chinese people want freedom and democracy. And I think that without the fact that China is not, it's really different from Japan and Korea right now. I think that just a land without freedom, democracy, rule of law, without education, without healthcare system, this type of land, the land cannot prosper without any of those conditions. And I think that's why we all of us are in the whistleblower movement, because we want those rights, basic human rights for Chinese people.
So, PD, are we lost? No, it's not our fault. It's okay. Washington Beast, are you there?
Yes, I can quickly jump in and talk about my thoughts and share my perspectives.
Absolutely great.
I've also been to the protest in Washington, D.C. on the first day of this month, and I was really overwhelmed because I was really scared. Like most of the protesters, that was the first time ever for me to protest, and the location was the Chinese consulate in DC. I was extremely nervous, and I was afraid, being captured by the surveillance system or any camera. So I was really paranoid. But once I got there and saw many people, who are wearing the whistleblower uniform and waving the new flag, the new federal state of China's flag, I felt a sense of, hope, because we can never do that in China. If we do that, if we organize a peaceful protest, within like 10 minutes, the police will come and get rid of us. So it's truly amazing to do something really significant, really means a lot to the Chinese people around the world. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity that they organized this and, doing this live broadcasting. It just shows that the unity and the longing for freedom and longing for democracy, is developing throughout the world. And I can tell you that a lot of Chinese people, they are still afraid of, going out on the street to protest because, all the ramifications. Especially if somebody who's overseas and their family members are in mainland China, if their identity got leaked, their family members could be easily targeted and their lives would be in jeopardy. So these protests really show the courage of these Chinese people, and it's really transformative.
Yeah, right. It's just like that's why we're saying that the CCP is just like a group of gangsters. They just targeted the weakest and the people who needed the help the most. They just take advantage of their need and help and targeted them, like children. Just like how Haidong, one of our hero, and his wife, his son, have been targeted by the CCP, and thank God he's got saved. So that's exactly an example to show how the CCP work, as long as someone is against their will. So if this kind of stuff can happen to a world famous football player, then it surely can happen to a normal people living in China. It's not saying that it's not happening every day. It's just like the outside world doesn't know it at all because the CCP has just choked their neck and they can't say anything. They have been silenced, so the world doesn't know. And then the world would say, okay, so they are looking at the image that the CCP is creating in front of the world instead of showing what is real happening in the mainland China. So the outside world would have misunderstanding of saying, okay, Chinese people are rich, they're traveling everywhere, they're become one of the most powerful groups in the world, and we should be afraid of them. However, that is just image that the CCP want the world to see. If anyone came to China for real, like physically came to the mainland China, then they would understand that it's just a picture. It's like watching a movie. And then when you come into reality, it's just completely, basically the opposite of what the movie is trying to show you. So I guess this is the opportunity, the protest and everything is the opportunity to show the world what exactly the Chinese people are like without the cover of the CCP just given to us. And also, as reporters and everything, we have to speak for people from mainland China because they can't do that. And we should do the job for them. And that's why we TNT Daily Report the news happening in China every single day to try to make the world understand what the real story, what is really happening in the mainland China, so that the world would understand most of people under the CCP's totalitarianism and their tyranny are not living happily. It's far from happy, I guess. They can live, they can survive, they can live for another day would be a happiness for them. But that bottom line is too low. We have to work harder to level it up with the help of the world. I guess Chinese people do need that. Okay, so what is happening here in Korea? The protest, Lin or Yangzi, could you tell us anything about it? What they're talking about here?
Yes. So the connection is not really good. So the voice is a bit glitchy, and I'll just translate as much as I can.
太棒了！所以我们现在的韩国的现场媒体有哪几家采访了我们？
So they're asking which media are at present for the interview.
我们在原地不动的时候，媒体很多，这个时候他们没有跟上来的。
There's several medias on stream.
我看到现场有唱歌是。
They were singing at live. They were singing the song "Glory." Yeah, they were singing the song "May the Glory Return to Hong Kong." As you can hear in the background, they're still singing it. It is a day full of happiness, and Chinese people actually stand up brave to unfairly express the anger against the tyranny of the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay, thank you guys for whoever is watching right now and watching in the future. This is about us for now, and we're just gonna finish our broadcast in a really short time. But before that, just let's welcome all the participants and the reporters of TNT Daily every day, reporting the news to the whole world, and share their thoughts about how they think about the protest today, and then we'll call it a day. All right. So let's start with Yangzi, and then you can cue the next one. All right.
All right. So I want to here to be to give special thanks to our technical support provider, Zhuzi, and next up our reporter, Alex. Please, say your thoughts.
Yeah, this is actually our first time all the news reporters are getting together live and talk about what's really happening right now for the federal state of the new China, which is a very, very exciting moment for me myself. And I wanted to thank you, everybody here, my dear colleagues, and also for the people who are watching, that I do appreciate your time. And next, let's welcome Mandarin.
All right, so just some closing thoughts. The only way to truly defeat CCP is not through it's not relying on other people on the planets, but you have to rely on yourself. There's a saying from the Bible: God cannot help you until you help yourself. So it is incredible news that we are seeing the Chinese people finally standing up to their rights, their freedoms, and now the whole world can see that can clearly see that the Chinese people desire democracy, and they are definitely they are definitely well behaved and well cultured to take on a full democracy system. So I think Chinese people around the world are making great progress, and I believe that the ending days of CCP is right around the corner. Next, right around the corner. Next, please go to 华府野兽, the Beast of Washington.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I'm really happy. I'm really happy to see so many people around the world to fight against the CCP. You know, it takes a lot of courage to stand up, to be on the street, because it's really difficult for many Chinese people, you know, to think outside of the box.
Many of us is actually from China originally, and right now we're in the free world, so we are cherished opportunity. So that's why Huafu is saying that it's really difficult for lots of Chinese people to have the courage to stand up.
Yeah, and it is very inspiring, you know, to be able to exercise our First Amendment here in the States, and it's very empowering. You know, after the first protests, I think I no longer fear the Chinese government, you know, because there are so many, you know, protesters out there. They're not going to be able to identify every one of them. So I think we need to be able to, you know, be more expressive and, you know, be more creative with our way of protesting and then our messaging. And basically what we're trying to do is to set up a new image of the Chinese people. We are not the Chinese spies. We're not stealing intellectual property. We're not brainwashing other foreigners. Anyway, we are really glad to express our opinions on this platform, and we look forward to hearing feedback from you guys.
So now let's welcome Reika. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, sounds clear.
Yeah, I'm so thankful being here. And just one thing that I want to mention is that, remember, this is just a small group of supporters. We have a big group of other supporters that are just doing things and putting efforts silently for us. So it really is my great pleasure being here, translating and sharing my thoughts. And next, we'll welcome Cadenza.
Thank you. I just want to share a few thoughts. So this is a special time that we're in right now, because the tension between the U.S. and China and as well as the world escalating. I think the world is now seeing the real nature of the CCP with everything going on. You know, the CCP virus causing a global pandemic and the supply chain being destroyed and disrupted. I think what's important right now is that the Chinese people needs to show that we are not the same as the CCP. You know, China is not CCP. We know that CCP is the evil, and we do not support them at all. And yeah, that's my thought. And if you guys would like to check out more the protesting, I believe they're gonna continue to protest and broadcast for a while, probably the whole day. If you guys want to check out more footage, the live stream, you can go on the gtv.org for more videos.
Okay, that's great, and thank you for the advertising. So I guess this is all about it for for today's TNT special, the Federal State of New China Global Protest Live. And I hope you guys had a great time, and we were sharing information and everything. And I've seen that the comments here, which support us and encourage us a lot, like one of them saying that, thank you guys, brave young ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, that's right. We got a lot of ladies here, and we welcome more and more participants and supporters to come and to join us and to speak for people that cannot speak or that has been silenced. We got the opportunity, and we have to take the responsibility for them. So this is about today, and this is Seamoon reporting, and together with all the colleagues you know, like I'm going to say their names one more time: Cadenza, Alexa, and the Black Mandarin, the Washington Beast, and Yangzi, Reika, and also our quietly working guy behind the scene, Zhu Fell. So thank you for everything, and we're going to continue the broadcast tomorrow, and stay tuned. Thank you very much. This is all for today. Bye bye. Have a nice day.